Hey everyone, the professor here. So recently I put out a video asking for content suggestions, and the first comment I got came from Tyra. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he said, I want a video on the best knife for the digit. So one knife $1 to $9, another $10 to $99, and the last in the hundreds. Also include the pros and cons for buying budget, so 50 and under versus higher end, and what you prefer to buy and use. So Jared defined 3 tiers of knives and asked my opinion for the best knife in each tier. And it sounds interesting, so why not? For the ones tier, that's what you're looking at here. Knives up to $9.99. You see a lot of junk in this cost. You're mostly looking at unmarked steels, and you're looking at brands like M-Tech, Tac Force, Ozark Trail, Schrade, Elk Ridge, SOG, a little bit of Gerber. I do have 2 suggestions for this tier, either one of which may be considered cheating, depending on how you look at it. First off, the choice I don't feel you improve upon a lot by moving up in tier, in other words, by paying over $10, I don't really feel like you pick up much, would be to get a disposable blade holder like this unit from Husky. Now, is this technically a knife? Well, that kind of depends on how you define a knife. I got this unit from Home Depot for under $10, I believe, and it's just a utility blade holder, but it gives you a cutting edge. This one here is based on a backlock design, and then you swap out the blade when you're done with it. It has a pocket clip attachment, which I took it off because of where I keep it, but for under $10, this is a nice way to carry a blade if you don't really care about the steel of the blade. And for some tasks, a blade like this one is actually a really good fit. My other recommendation for a more standard knife that is under $10 for the knife, I'm going with the Sanrenmu 7010. This is a little bit of a cheat. On Amazon you can find this for around $14, but from sites like GearBest, you can buy this for under $9, not including shipping. So if you don't include the shipping in the cost of the knife, this is an under $10 knife. And unlike most of the knives at that price, you're actually getting a name steel. It's only 8CR13 MOV, but for under $10, that's a pretty decent steel. Watch my review on this knife to see my full opinions on it. But knives under $10, this would definitely be my number 1 choice. If you have to include the full cost of everything, I'd probably recommend something like this. Another variation on this is the Gerber Exchange-A-Blade, or EAB, or the EAB Lite. You might be able to find either one of those under $10 depending on where you look, but it's basically the same idea as this one. It just uses a liner lock style rather than a back lock. So in the tens tier, from $10 to $99.99, you get even more competition. There are a lot of stellar designs for under $100, including like this CRKT Hootenanny, which I consider the best knife in a budget steel. And you get a lot of reputable brands at this price point, including Kershaw, like this Kershaw Shield, CRKT, like the Hootenanny, and the folding Razel here. You get some Cold Steel at this price point. This here is the Cold Steel Tough Light. Ontario Knife Company, the Rats 1 and 2. You also get some copycats like Ganzo. And you can even get some Spydercos, like this Mannix 2 Lightweight in CTS BD1 steel. You also get the very beginning of the Benchmade line. So my recommendation for the best knife at this cost, comes down to really a question of what you're after. If you want a really excellent steel at this price point, I would recommend the Kershaw Dividend or Leek in M390 steel. Or there's a House of Blades exclusive Dividend in S35VN. When you can find them, they all tend to be under $100, but they are, however, spring assisted. For the best action under $100, I'm going to send you to Benchmade. A new satin finished mini Griptilian 556 can be had for just under $100. It's in 154 cm steel, which is a step down from M390 or F35VN, but it's still a great steel and very reasonable at this price point. It's also one of the only ways you can get a genuine axis lock, not like the Ganzo axis lock, for under $100. I don't have a mini Griptilian to show off because I personally find the mini Griptilian's blade length too short for my taste. I prefer the full-size grip, but for under $100 you can't get a full-size grip, and the mini Griptilian, especially if you like smaller blades, is going to be a great choice. So either a Kershaw in a high-end steel like M390 or S35VN, or a Benchmade mini grip for under $100 would be my choice in the 10s tier. My knowledge of knives that are over $100 but under $1,000 is somewhat limited, and I've only really handled a few, and these are the ones that I have on hand right now that are over $100 but under $1,000. From cheapest to most expensive, I believe, you have the Benchmade Bug Out, which runs at about $115. It's a Benchmade Axis lock, super lightweight. We also have my first Benchmade and my first real knife review, the Benchmade Griptilian, which is, I believe, the 551 by Mel Pardue in 154 cm steel. Again, you get the great Benchmade Axis lock action. Then I also have a Spyderco Paramilitary 2. This is available in a number of steels. This one here is the Blurple Paramilitary 2 in CPM S110V steel, which is a great choice, a very premium steel. And then the most expensive knife that I own still is the ZT-0452 carbon fiber, or ZT-0452CF, or as I call it, Zvezda. This knife here is in S35VN, as you can see there, and it's designed by Dmitry Sinkovich. But I can't say definitively that any of these knives is the best knife under $1,000. In fact, I can probably guess that none of these is the best knife under $1,000. I probably put them in this order for steel tiers: 154 cm, S30V, S35VN, and S110V. But there's more choices out there, and I really haven't handled that many. I've just not handled enough knives in this price tier to give all that educated an opinion on knives between $100 and $1,000. My recommendation there would be watch some other YouTubers, read some reviews, because once you get to this price point, you're talking about a large investment, and you really want to be pretty sure of yourself before you go spending that kind of money. Because at that point you can achieve functionally near perfection, and there's just so much competition and variety that no matter what I recommend, someone's going to dispute. And honestly, people have a lot of room to dispute because, as I said, I've not handled that many knives in this price range. So the last part of Jared's question was the pros and cons for buying budget, which he considered budget from his comment to be under $50. These are some of the knives that I would consider carrying the most. These three here would be considered non-budget, and these two here would be considered budget. Budget, of course, is easier to replace, and maybe you feel more comfortable carrying a budget blade. If I were going to travel, I would rather carry one of these types of blades because they are easier to replace if I end up losing it or something. But non-budget, or over $50, you can get a huge upgrade in terms of steel. I mean, S30V or S110V are both excellent steels. You can also get non-budget S35VN, M390, Maximate. I mean, there are excellent steels that you can get if you go over $50, but you're going to have a hard time finding those steels for under $50. So really, I prefer what you would consider to be non-budget, but I don't prefer super high above budget. I mean, I own a ZT-0452 carbon fiber, but I don't carry it very often for a couple of reasons. One of which is it's the most expensive knife that I own, and I don't want to lose it and try to replace it. That's really the main difference between carrying budget and carrying non-budget, is ease of replacement. You give up a little bit in terms of steel, or brand name, or action, or you have to make some compromises to carry something budget. But there are still some great budget choices to carry, and they are easier to replace than non-budget. But once you get over $50, you can have a really nice steel, really good edge retention, really good materials, even better action. So it's not so much carrying budget versus carrying non-budget, but finding that point of comfort in your cost where you get all the performance you want without risking too much in terms of replacement. And then the last thing, what I prefer to buy and use, well, I think I already covered that. I prefer knives probably right around $100, just over, maybe a little bit more than that. I prefer to carry these kinds of knives unless the situation dictates that I might lose it or something like that, in which case I might downgrade to this. So these would probably be my four most carried knives right now. Sorry, Rat, you're just a little too heavy. So I want to thank Jared Tyra for the comment suggestion, and thank all of you for watching. Thanks everyone who subscribed to my channel. I hope my second year is even better than my first, and I hope I can provide you with the kind of content that you will really enjoy. But for now, class dismissed.